Hello everyone. We got Jimmy back this week.
Hello, how's it going?
And we've got Aaryan as well.
Hello.
And I've been bigging Aaryan up in the previous couple of posts because Aaryan has been with us 9 years, just over.
Yeah, 9. Yeah, 9. Probably maybe coming up to 10, but yeah, 9.
Yeah. So you started with me when it was just me, and you were 7 years old, and you were coming for lessons when I was at Purley Language College. Remember that?
Yes, yes.
We had a cast
very much near the Tesco, near the big Tesco.
Yeah, just opposite the Tesco's. Yeah, so we had. I used to rent a classroom off them a few days a week. I've gone blurry for some reason, and and you would come and. That's how you got started, and you've never left. So I think in terms of longest running student, I think you and Kate Roden are kind of neck and neck. I think you both started around about the same time, so you're like top of the leaderboard there. So I just thought it would be really interesting to kind of tell everyone else a little bit more about you and your journey, and the fact that you're now training to be a teacher with us. Just to kind of put a bit of context, because often when especially with kids, when they first get started, it's hard to see what the path is. We can say, oh, you're going to be this good in X amount of time, but it's when you're not getting that immediate progress, or you don't feel like you're getting that immediate progress.
No, yeah.
You can think, well, why am I going to bother? So I thought it would be nice for us to explore that with you a bit. So let's go back to when you were 7 then, and take me back in time. So did you already play anything else, Aaryan, at that point, or was guitar your first instrument?
Yeah, no, I didn't play anything else at the time. Guitar was my first instrument. Like, I knew like maybe bits and bobs, like really simple music theory. I mean, whatever you knew at 7 years old, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like my primary school, it was an arts primary school, so it was like they were always making us do stuff with like as in like musicals and choirs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Guitar was my first instrument.
So you were already getting that kind of encouragement, I suppose, from being at your school. What school did you go to?
I went to David Livingstone in Thornton Heath. So okay. I don't know if many people might have heard of it, but it's sort of like on the border between Norwood and Thornton Heath. But no, yeah, definitely. I mean, that helped as well. And also, like my parents as well. Like my dad definitely pushed me to take up an instrument.
Cool.
Just as sort of something extracurricular, right? Because
yeah,
like school and studies and everything is really nice to have like something else you can do, and something as big as music that you can basically take on with you for the whole of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pick it up at an early age. It's great.
And so and it's the perfect age to start as well.
Yes,
especially if you then stick with it.
Yeah.
So why did you choose guitar?
To be quite honest, I just thought it was pretty cool, right? Because a lot of people like start to play piano and stuff, and like I was watching people play piano, and it was nice, but I wanted to do something different. And on TV and media, you always see guitar players just shredding it out, music, whatnot, and I thought that was really cool as a kid. So
even at that age, you
not as much at that age because I was quite young.
Yeah.
I just saw the guitar as like just quite a fun instrument to play, to try it out, and so yeah.
Fantastic, cool, good. And so at that age, if you can remember, like, did you have any playing goals, or did you just think, right, I'm gonna go and learn guitar and see what happens?
Yeah, no, I don't think I did. I think I just wanted to play and just see how good I got.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah, I rarely speak to a 7-year-old who says, "Oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that." I mean, sometimes even getting 7-year-olds to tell me what kind of music they like is tricky.
Yeah,
okay. So, yeah, cool. And again, thinking back, can you remember as a beginner, like what you found the most difficult or the most challenging that you've since overcome?
Yeah, definitely. Like as a raw beginner, definitely fretting is a very new concept. You know, I remember always getting blisters and stuff on my fingers. Like when learning how to fret on the fretboard, and chords. I feel like chords is always a big thing when you start out. People tend to struggle with it because it's quite weird. They're quite weird shapes you make with your hands, and it's
Totally.
you build up. So definitely chords, like fretting on the fretboard was a big deal. And
big deal now.
Yeah,
carrying on.
Yes. And picking is another one. Yeah, picking.
Yeah.
Again, picking. I think another one is that's another big one that a lot of people find. Even like good players, very skilled players, have to think about their picking. So,
oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And that's, I think that gets a mention in every one of these that we've done, the picking and how important it is, and how, it's easy to neglect it, I suppose. Yeah.
What's your favourite kind of pick?
Jazz pick.
Jazz pick. Yes.
Good.
Me too.
Is the right answer. Yeah, you can say that because Jimmy's here.
You're a great student.
Cool. All right, so Aaryan, I've already given you a bit of notice of this. I am going to embarrass you now, because I found, for everybody watching, I found some old footage of Aaryan playing at, I think this was your first performance with us. This was back at Scream Studios in, when did I say? July 2011?
Yeah.
So you hadn't been learning with us for very long, only a couple of months, I think, at this point. So here we go, everyone. Here's Aaryan at age 7 playing Ode to Joy. Here we go.
Oh.
What happened?
Do you remember that day then?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember that first performance. I also remember, I don't know if you remember Rockin' Blues? I think that was in a group.
Yeah, I've got you doing that as well. Yeah,
I remember seeing that video as well. It was very long time.
Yeah. So I think that's really useful to show, because that's where a lot of our students are at the moment, especially at that sort of age. You know, those little, melodies played on two strings, open frets and stuff. So obviously you've come a long way since then, and we will show the kind of stuff you can do in a minute. So at what point then did you kind of really get into playing guitar and the idea of becoming a musician? Because I remember, I think this is probably going back about 3 years or so, and I hadn't been around for a bit. I don't think I'd seen you for a few months, and then all of a sudden I was at the studio and you walked in. First of all, you'd shot up, and I had to look up there to talk to you. And secondly, you were wearing like a Guns N' Roses t-shirt or an Iron Maiden t-shirt, and you had a really kind of cool, I think is it an Ibanez guitar or some kind of metal guitar you had?
Oh yeah.
And I thought, some kind of transformation's gone on here. so like, when did that kind of kick in for you, when you thought, well, I want to become a serious guitar player?
Yeah, so definitely when I was in probably year 8, year 9 maybe, so how old was I then? 13, 14? So I think probably the music I started listening to as well, that around then I started getting more into like hard rock, like metal sort of territory.
Yeah.
And, you know, I started listening more to these guitar players, you know, I don't know, like Marty Friedman, you know, Yngwie Malmsteen, like the shredders, if you will. And I was just like, I want to do that. And what actually happened, I was actually hitting a bit of a rut before that. And I definitely wasn't practicing as much, and I was just getting a bit sort of tired of guitar. And you know that happens with every player. It's sort of a cycle, right? But then after that, I started, you know, playing more, listening to more music, practicing, and then also understanding more. Because around then, I also took up music GCSE. Because my music theory, I mean, it's never been too strong, but I definitely at that age, I started to understand it a bit more as well. So I think probably all of those factors combined just, to me, like getting into a guitar a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. Like when you start listening to music, and particularly listening to other guitar players, you know, it is very easy to get in a rut if you don't really like what you're doing, or you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. But also if you have no direction, you know, or, you know, you don't have any goals or anything. So obviously when I spoke to Catherine last week, she was saying that initially she wanted to play riffs and be a lead guitar player. But then as she developed, she discovered that actually what she was more interested in doing was, you know, using the guitar to kind of write songs and be like a singer-songwriter. So that was her kind of focus. So I think what's really interesting, and this is something as well for any parents watching, you know, this can take several years to kick in. So, you know, you do all the kind of initial lessons and you learn all the nursery rhymes and the simple riffs and, you know, the basic chords and all that. And what tends to happen then, like one or two things can happen. Either kids decide that actually they're not that interested in playing guitar, and so that, you know, they're not really that bothered about practicing and they lose motivation and they quit. Or the second thing, which is the thing that happened to you, is that, you know, suddenly the penny drops and you go, oh yeah, actually this is really cool, and now I'm listening to this kind of music. This is the kind of stuff I want to be able to play. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, it just like something clicked, right? And then it just went from there. Yeah, cool, good. Jimmy, feel free to chip in at any point.
Sorry, I was just listening intently. Listening to a lot of hard rock and stuff. Soon, listening to a lot of jazz. Yeah.
Yes.
Flip that one in there.
If you follow Jimmy's path, you're going to move from shredding to smooth jazz within a couple of years.
I mean, age-wise, it makes sense, right? That's sort of like 14 to 16. You're listening to all this, all this hard rock metal, and then your music taste matures a bit in that you start listening to jazz and whatnot.
Hey man, you can still shred playing jazz.
Oh no, definitely, yes, of course.
And you learn a lot about harmony. Yeah, there's. I had a little moment of clarity when I was teaching someone a Malmsteen lick, and I was just like, hang on a minute, this is exactly what Wes Montgomery does over this jazz standard, but it's just with distortion and a lot of, you know, a bit quicker. Learn about jazz. Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna get off my jazz horse now.
Jimmy, we got any questions or anything?
Not at the minute. But guys, feel free if anyone has any questions on anything at all, guitar related preferably. Feel free to just drop them in the comments. You have 3 of us, and we can hopefully try and answer anything that comes up.
Or specifically any questions for Aaryan as well. I've got
questions for Aaryan. So
so we you also play a bit of drums as well, Aaryan, right?
Yeah, I did. I used to play a bit of drums for a few years. It's pretty simple. It's not, you know, great or anything, but I know my way around a kit. I can read music, so drum. So
drum music, fantastic. So what made you want to start learning drums then, as well as guitar?
Again, like it was around that point, maybe I started to listen to a bit more music, a bit more rock and metal, and I was listening to also the drum beat in that, and I just, you know, it sounded pretty interesting to learn, because I'd never really done much with percussion, before. So I wanted to just give it a go and see what it was like. It looked pretty fun to play as well when I saw other people playing it. So I wanted to give it a go, and my school was giving lessons, like external lessons. So
Cool.
Yeah, it's just nice to hit stuff sometimes, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic.
It is fun to hit stuff, definitely.
I mean,
and also,
instrumentally. Do not condone violence. Let me throw that out there just before that gets twisted in a horrible way. This is why I stopped chiming in.
Oh, all right, Jimmy, shut up now. Happily joking. Yeah, so what I was going to say, drums and guitar, I think, are two instruments that really complement each other, because I think one of the big things about guitar that people sometimes don't get, or that take a bit longer to get, is the whole rhythm aspect, right? The whole idea of playing in time. And it doesn't matter how good technically a guitar player you become, if you can't play in time,
yeah, everyone's going to hate you.
To do
Pretty much. And also, just speaking of rhythm, we've got our first question, which is how to play triplets properly. Aaryan, do you want to answer this? Or
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I told you I'd put you on the spot.
Definitely. Okay, I'll give it a go. All right, so yeah, triplets, like at a first glance, they can seem a bit strange, because normally we're working in even numbers, 2s, 4s, 8s. And when triplets come along, you see you're playing 3 notes in 1 beat. And there's often, I'm actually going to steal one of Mike's little teaching phrases here. And there's a little phrase that a lot of guitar teachers like to use when trying to recite triplets, when trying to recite that rhythm. And that word is wonderful. It has 3 syllables, right? Wonderful. And when you're playing triplets, if you think of a word, or a word similar to that, you know, wonderful, wonderful, as in you're playing those three notes in 1 beat, I feel like that'll help a lot more. And actually just could go for rhythms in general, in that when you're practicing and you recite the rhythm while you're playing, or in some form, that'll definitely help you play it properly. But yeah, definitely try that. I stole that one out of Mike's book, actually.
I've seen Mike do that. Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, when you're learning a triplet rhythm, if you just recite that word while you're looking at the rhythm, as in wonderful, wonderful, to a metronome or some sort of beat, then you'll be able to understand it more, and you'll be able to hopefully play it, actually play it. So definitely trying to recite the rhythms to a beat in some form, like clapping, you know, vocating or clicking and whatnot. That I feel like that helped me definitely with when I was learning triplets as well.
Fantastic. Yes. Jimmy, have you got anything to add on that?
I think, yeah, that's pretty much awesome. But one thing I would say, there's 2 main types of triplet, but the most common one, which I'm assuming you're referring to, is the 8th note triplet. Because you can have quarter note triplets and things like that, where 3 quarter notes will last for basically a half note, if that makes sense. So it's 3 becomes 2. But the most common one is that when we have 3 8th notes together, which occupy the space of 2 beats. I know this is sounding very technical, and but the kind of way that I think of it is that if we've got an 8th note, say we're doing 8th note triplets, 8th notes, they last for 2, you know, we're splitting the beat into 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and, yeah, so it's directly in the center. So the way that I think about that, so if I get a metronome up, I might as well do a proper teaching. Do a proper teach. Never too far away from my metronome. So this is just, imagine these are our quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8th notes, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But when we want triplets, instead of dividing into 2, we divide it into 3. So we can say things like wonderful. I just go 1 and a, 2 and a. So I've got kind of 3 syllables per, and I know exactly where my beat is. So I go 1 and a 2 and a 3. Ooh, I'm out of time there. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. And then we have triplets.
I love it.
Did that make sense, or am I just waffling?
No, that made what both of you said made sense.
Cool.
Absolutely. Very
hopefully,
good.
yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Cool. And yeah, my next question for Aaryan was, because I think that was the other thing I found out as well, probably later than I should have done, was that you'd started playing in a band. So when did you form your first band? And what kind of music did you play?
Yeah, so when probably around year 10, I'd say. So 15-ish, 14, 15-ish. Yeah, so we play metal. We play metal, and we write our songs. It is really just for fun, right? So
cool. And
yeah,
is it still the same band you're in?
Yeah, we are. So yeah, actually, some of them, like these other guys are really talented. Actually, one of them moved to another sixth form. But yeah, so it was really just for fun. To be quite honest, just get together, write some songs, jam out. Because one of the members of the band, he's extremely musically talented. So he's written a good chunk in our songs.
Cool.
And yeah, that's about it. It was just sort of a thing we wanted to do for fun, just so we could see what we could do, have our own songs to play,
well, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a lot of fun. I think that as in a goal for aspiring guitar players is to try and see if you could play in some sort of group. Like you could get a few performances here and there, maybe in your school or another place. But definitely playing music in a group is one of the most fun things you could do. And another sort of band, I wouldn't really call it a band because it's not we don't regularly practice and whatnot, but every twice a year, I'd say. So our school runs a summer concert and an autumn concert. And so what we do is we have a quote unquote jazz / fusion band that we do. So we
I knew Jimmy would smile as soon as she said that.
So, yeah, doing me proud. It would be fairly big. We just play a few songs that we picked out, and
great,
those concerts. But that isn't really as regular. It's just sort of another fun thing. But yeah, no, it was around that time. Year 10 is when I started playing the.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think that's another. It's almost like a rite of passage, really. So you start when you're 7 or 8 years old. You don't really know. Maybe people start because their parents think it would be a good idea for them to learn an instrument. Some people get it, some people don't, and then you get to the point where you start getting into music and thinking, right, this is what I like, this is what I want to play, and then the next kind of step along from that is, well, let's find someone to do it with. Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like you kind of went through that whole process.
Aside from the kind of fun aspects, I genuinely believe playing with other people as part of a band or other guitarists or just anyone is one of the most important things to develop you as a player.
Definitely. In a group.
It's very evident, especially at places like music school. You can see people that play in bands regularly, and you can very clearly tell them from the people that sit and just play in their room and don't play with anyone else. It's just a very different level of musicianship, and the more you get out there, the better, really. And to be honest, which is why I really enjoy kind of group lessons as well. Just you always have to learn to deal with other people's timing, and it just improves you in so many ways that you won't even notice. Sorry, that was my little 2 cents on that.
No, actually, you're really correct. Yeah, actually, no, you did point out something really important there, that it helped. I feel it helped my playing a lot, playing in groups. Jimmy, you're totally right, because it is very fun, especially when you're doing it with people, around people you really enjoy being with, as in your mates or people you develop a good relationship with. But yes, the improvement aspect is there, is very prevalent, actually.
Yeah.
I felt it helped my playing a lot as well. And also, I feel like sometimes in bands, there might be a bit of competition, if you will, especially between guitarists. That could probably help you improve a bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of one final point on this from me, because I think that this is really, really important. Yeah, being in a band, especially at your sort of age, it's a bit like being in a gang, but being in a good gang that's doing something productive. And
who's saying outrageous things now? The controversy.
And that is kind of the same. Like even when you get older, I mean, I'm still friends with people that I was in a band with when I was your sort of age. In fact, one of them, their son is having lessons with us now. So you know, it's so that kind of thing is great, because you're going to have more in common with those people, and you're going to be more likely to stay in touch with those people, you know, throughout your life, because you've got this common bond and, you know, this common thing that you all enjoy doing. So there's lots of other analogies I can use about.
One last point to put on that as well, aside from just the musicians side of it, just being around a group of people when you like playing music together, writing music together, it's just an extra set of people that will be like, oh, have you listened to this? And, you know, kind of, and you just share so much music with each other, and you hear new things, you learn new things just from other people and what they actually listen to, you know, instruments aside. And I thought that was a brilliant thing, because I don't know what it's like now with the internet and stuff, but when I was a kid, it was all, you know, you go to your record shop and you chat to the guy, you swap CDs with your friends, but I don't know how that works anymore. Aaryan, maybe you can shed some light on that. But
I'm afraid
tell people how you share. Well, surely it's easier now with like Spotify playlists and
definitely, and with technology, it makes it a lot easier to share music. But even especially if you're around people that you play music with, and you probably have some sort of similar tastes, but they can also introduce you to new music, because definitely your tastes are most likely not going to be exactly the same. There's going to be some genres or subgenres that your friends might listen to and you haven't really heard much of it. They'll introduce you to it, and, you know, you found some new music you might want to, you know, take inspiration from or just listen to. So it's definitely good. It really, really deepens your sort of your musical skill and your musicality in general, really, actually.
Definitely. The more different stuff you listen to, the more eclectic your tastes become as well, don't they?
Should we make a teacher's playlist of just like, you know, a couple of songs each that we've all been jamming, and just like, and get a couple of students involved? Get anyone involved, and just like everyone suggest a song that they've been listening to, so we can share music and see what everyone's listening to. And
definitely,
I'd like that, you know, if I can hear what students are listening to, it helps me kind of think, oh, so and so's into this. I've not really listened to this kind of music, so I'd like to learn it, and therefore I can teach it better. And, you know,
that's a brilliant idea.
Maybe we should look into that.
Figure out a way to do that. And also, of course, we don't have to worry about someone borrowing one of your favorite CDs and not giving it back, you know, which is you don't have to deal with any of that stuff anymore. All right, I know we were running a bit short on time, but I do want to ask quickly a couple of other things, Aaryan. So you joined us way before we started using the G4 method. You're now training to become a G4 teacher, so you've had to do a similar thing to what Catherine did, where you learned guitar and then you had to go kind of back to the beginning and relearn some of the stuff that you perhaps hadn't done before. But so before we get on to that, I know one thing that you have done is you've done some grades, right? Was it Trinity Rock and Pop or Rock School grades?
Yeah, Trinity Rock and Pop. So
and you got grade 7, is it?
No, grade 6. Yeah, that was two years ago, I think.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted your take on this, because I get asked by a lot of parents, you know, when people phone and inquire about lessons, you know, do we do grades? And certainly from my perspective, I am 100% confident that the G4 method is actually provides a better foundation than just doing grades. But obviously, because grades are the kind of standard thing, and, you know, parents think, well, if they do grades, they're going to be able to get into such and such school or university or anything like that. I just wondered if you could give us your take on that, because obviously you've done the grades, and then you've gone back and you've done, you know, the G4 method kind of as a teacher. What would you say if someone asked you, should I bother putting my kid through the grades in order to get into a school or a university?
No, yeah. So no, that's a really good question actually, because yeah, grades, they are nice. They're something you can do to like as a formality to standardize your progress tracking, in that you have this grade, you move up to the next grade and whatnot. But if you're doing grades with the sole purpose of, you know, trying to get into a school or just sort of your own, not actually for the music, then I'll just tell you to not do grades. There's no point, really, there's no point. Like I'm applying to uni, right? Unis do not care. Unless you're doing a music degree or something related to music, they don't care about this sort of stuff. If you want to play an instrument, it should be because you're interested in music and really actually want to progress and excel in that, rather than just looking at grades, because I feel it really is sort of like a tunnel vision thing. Like you just see the grades, and yeah, it might be a nice thing to aspire to, and like on a down low, it does improve your playing, obviously, because you're getting harder and harder songs. But to be quite honest, I'd say G4 does that better, in that you're doing the same thing but a lot more rigorously, in my opinion, in that. So there's one thing which G4 actually does that grades don't really do, or what I didn't really do when I was learning guitar, is that it really gives you a solid foundation of music theory. So that's definitely probably my favorite thing about the G4, because people, especially for guitar, people underestimate how important music theory is and how much music theory can help you in writing songs or playing what you want to, taking inspiration. So I do think actually the G4 method really good in that, because guitar, some people might think, is when you start it off compared to another instrument, say piano, with piano you have to know, you're learning music theory right off the bat, as well as the instrument itself, and that, because you know you can't name key 1 to key 61, play key 42, you know, something that you can't do that with piano, right? Guitar,
I wonder if someone's tried that. It wouldn't surprise me at all if someone tried to put together a piano shortcut to playing piano. You don't need to learn music theory.
Okay, play key, you know, 3.5 for you know, you can't do that with guitar. When you start out, in terms of theory, it's a lot simpler, because the layout is a lot more beginner friendly, if sort of, in that you can explain it a lot easier.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
In terms of fretting, and you get what I mean, right?
But playing a piano requires one action to sound a note, whereas there's automatically a level of coordination involved.
Yeah, I mean, with movements and technical ability, yeah, you're definitely right. But for guitar, I think that the G4 method teaches you music theory, which I think should actually be done for basically all beginners at an early age, to have some sort of foundation of music theory, just so they can actually understand what they're playing. Because, you know, I didn't really understand what the frets actually did, you know, how they were a semitone apart, until like, I mean, I can't remember how far into my playing, but you know, if you can try and understand that as well as how to actually play the guitar, I feel like those two mixed together is what actually makes a good guitar player, and that it makes you a more clever player as well. You know, when you're improvising, you're not just doodling around, but you're understanding what you're playing. And when you understand what you're playing, it's more fluent. It's like, you know, when you're speaking or giving a speech, if you're just waffling, saying this random stuff, then it won't be as good. But if you really understand what you're reciting, if you're more fluid in that and what you've written, then it's going to sound a lot better. The exact same thing with guitar, in that if you have a good rigid foundation of theory, as well as technicalities when you're playing, like picking, fretting and whatnot, from an early age especially, I think that's probably the best recipe for making a really successful guitar player.
Really interesting, Aaryan, and yes, I do take responsibility for the lack of music theory provided in your first few years of learning guitar. So
no, it's not.
No, we've addressed that now. No, look, I do. You know, I fully. Actually, one of the reasons why I was looking, liked the idea of the G4 method in the first place was because I knew that we were lacking in those areas, and I didn't really know like where to go to get those resources. I didn't want to put a whole load of resources together myself, but I knew that it was something that people were, that in a way we weren't delivering that aspect. We were doing all this other stuff, but we weren't delivering there. So yeah, that kind of filled in the gap. And also I found what was really interesting, what you were saying there about how you just, like, when you're doing grades, it becomes another chore almost, right? Because it's another thing you've got to do an exam.
Tick in a box.
Yes, another thing you need a box ticked for. And you know, I've had this experience, in fact, quite recently with students who have become disillusioned with doing the grades to the point where they've actually quit lessons. And you know, I've said, well, look, you know, what if we don't do the grades anymore? Like, but by that point, it's almost too late, because they associate guitar with this, you know, high pressure thing as well. I have to learn this piece, and I have to learn this scale, and I have to learn this, and I have to do that.
I think that just takes the fun out of it. You know, guitar, it's not a subject at school where, you know, you have an exam that you need to pass. You've got
enough of that, right? You know, you guys have got enough of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, I definitely have enough of that. But no, I'd say it's more of a creative outlet. It's really what you want to get done with it. It's grades definitely. It's kind of sad to see people are, you know, like leaving guitar just because of the grades, because that definitely shouldn't be the case.
No, I agree.
Great.
Just whilst we're on the topic of grades and theory and stuff, just like the theory that you learn at school, I found just wasn't relevant.
I know,
it's all classical theory, and it's just like, definitely. I don't know why I need to know how to transpose this guitar or this melody line so that some weird B flat instrument can play it, or can I transpose this to tenor clef? And it's just like,
I remember doing that at university, and I've never done it since.
I was like, I'm not gonna join an orchestra. It's not what I want to do. And but just kind of practical theory, things that you can use, I think are really, really valid, and it's kind of what the method introduces. So I'm kind of all about that. And also, if any of you kids want to learn jazz theory, I will happily teach you. Right, carry on.
All right, sorry guys. So just very quickly then, I know, you know, we talked about the method as well, and kind of how different it is to what you've done. So you approached me, actually. It was one of those kind of happy coincidences where you approached me to ask if I was looking for any more students, and I said, teachers to work for us. And I said, actually, yes, I am. We've started training up some new teachers, and you've been doing that mainly with Jimmy, I think. And you've done really well. In fact, I think only a couple of weeks before all this kicked off, you did your first kind of full day of teaching, didn't you? Back at the beginning of March, and obviously I was there sitting in, and you know, I'm glad that I was there sitting in, but I felt like if I'd have left, you would have been absolutely fine. So yeah,
good lad. I told you.
Good job. Yeah,
fine.
And I know that Jimmy was super impressed as well, because you used to sometimes collar me outside the teaching room, didn't you? When Aaryan was taking a bit of lesson, go, he's doing really well in there.
I can leave and make a cup of tea, and nothing's going to be on fire.
So yeah, what made you ask me basically to get involved in this?
I'm going to answer this for him. He saw that his teachers were like really cool, awesome people. And he was like, I want to be like. Sorry, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
That was partly a reason. I think it was
definitely not forced him to say that.
No, I mean, yeah. I'm still like improving as a guitar player. I'm still learning. Like, I'm taking lessons with Jimmy, but I think I'm at a stage where I can help people who are like me when I was 7 years old. I'm at a stage where I can help those sort of people get interested into guitar and really become good musicians. Because I think one thing with younger students is that as they can be fragile, in the sense, you know, one thing can make them leave, or by the same token, there could be one thing that sticks with them that makes them stay and makes them think, hey, guitar's really cool. I want to keep up with this, especially with kids at a younger age. So I really wanted to do that because I feel like music in general, but guitar is obviously my favorite instrument. Helping younger kids do that definitely be good. And also in the sense that I feel that teaching something is a way of actually improving yourself, because as you said, like Catherine and I had to go back into the G4 method, and there was stuff that we didn't get taught initially, and we were learning new things that before I knew how to read music, but guitar music is like slightly different in the sense of knowing what fret matches what note on the stave. So that's something I had to learn, but again, it's a useful skill, and I enjoyed learning it. But in general, teaching something that you're doing, I feel consolidates whatever you know, and it can help you also. It makes you a better player, because it makes your foundations more rigid in that sense. So just for those factors, I thought, you know, maybe being a teacher part-time would be something for me. I feel like I'd enjoy it, and I feel like I'd be being able to help others who are like me get good at guitar and get really into it. It's a nice thing. It's a really good thing.
Yeah, well, you know, that I think that's probably why most teachers, to be honest, Aaryan, or most serious, I mean, there are some people who get into guitar teaching because they think it's an easy way of making some money, ha ha ha. So certainly isn't that, but you know, or like, oh, you know, people who really just want to be a touring musician and they do a bit of teaching on the side and they don't really take it that seriously. But I think most people who certainly you know, teach for a certain period of time and stick at it, like, yeah, that's generally that's mainly the reason, to kind of pass on your own love of it, really, I guess. And there's nothing that is more that I enjoy more really than seeing people like you and like Catherine and Harry and Tarun and, you know, Ellie, all those guys, you know, who were beginners, and they're now, you know, they're doing it, and they're doing all this really cool stuff. So, and it's a great thing to do, I think.
Of course, yeah.
I agree.
Cool. All right, well, we've gone way over time here, Aaryan. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me on here.
No worries at all. And I will get this uploaded to YouTube and all that. You share it with all your friends if you want to. Please do. Jimmy, have we got any other questions or?
We got some comments. Ruben, sharing song list sounds good. So brilliant. I think maybe if we just make a thread and just be like, can you post a YouTube link to something? And if it's on Spotify, I'll whack it into a playlist and make it public.
Great. Really
maybe that'll be the easiest way to do that. Yeah. And then just another comment saying, I agree that G4 guitar provides a strong foundation, and specifically for parents to help kids, which was great. It's great to hear. Thank you for the feedback. We really enjoy it.
Awesome. All right, well, we will leave it there. So let's come off. Oh, let's say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see some of you tomorrow. And the ones that I don't see, practice. Always be practice. Sorry, I'm going to stop there now. But yeah, have a wonderful weekend. And thank you, Aaryan, for joining us.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.